we're gonna start in 5 minutes, right?
Right.
Yeah, I need to go to toilet, that's why. Thank you.
And we are live now. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon. I'm Don Macahilo from findmymethod.org. In behalf of the team and our partners, we would like to thank everyone for the overwhelming responses in this COVID-19 and Us, a Southeast Asian conversation on sex and pleasure, and for celebrating the World Contraceptive Day with us. Looking back, when Noval, Bryant, and I were conceptualizing on doing this conversation, virtual conversation, we were asking questions and looking for answers about the diverse sexual and reproductive experiences of everyone, especially of young people, and the intersectionalities that surrounded it during the pandemic, how the lockdowns affected our sexual pleasures, and about how digital spaces like Find My Method are in the spotlight, offering multilingual and jargon free contraceptive information to help everyone address their contraceptive concerns. And mind you, it is also available in 7 languages, including Tagalog for the Philippines, and we hope more Asian languages will be added in the future. So going back and then, we invited our feminist friends who are doing amazing work on sexual and reproductive health in the region to join this conversation and highlight their experiences and work that they're doing, especially during the pandemic. We are currently live streaming through the Facebook Method Facebook at Facebook, Find My Method. Also, we are streamed live at the Find My Method YouTube channel and also on Twitter, and we will be posting the link on these different channels as well. I know you're excited as I am, so without much further ado, let this conversation begin.
Okay, so before we start the amazing conversation, let's play a game first to break the ice and also to have fun because in the pandemic, of course, we need some fun. And I'm going to share the screen, and you can directly go to the website and play. Okay, wait a second. Okay, so if you can see in our screen, there's a website link in here, and I got disconnected. Okay, come on, internet. Okay, so what are you going to do is use your devices, and there's a website link in front of you in the share screen right now. Joinmyquiz.com/pro, and then if you're already inside the website, you need to enter the code, which is 573502. And I can see everyone who already participate in the game. Okay, we have Nick right now, and just Nick first, and then we have another person. Okay, let's wait for 2 minutes, and then we are going to start. And if you're watching this from Twitter, from YouTube, from Facebook, you can also join as well. Just open the website link, which is joinmyquiz.com/pro, and then you need to enter the code below. We have a lot of people here. Okay. You can down anything as your name. I wrote down a secret. Okay. Is everybody here? We have 9% participating. So the code is 573502. Okay, shall we start? Is every speakers already inside the game? Go. Okay, let's go. We have 13 people. Cool. 14. Okay, let's start. I'm sorry you are not if you are late. Okay, the first question. Is it a matter of fact? Okay, Dina is winning right now. And Y is catching up. And Blue makan siang. Oh my god, that is a very cute nickname. Okay, Blue makan siang, you are winning. Let's go. What flag is this? I'm losing. Oh, come on, cat. Oh, cat is winning right now. Blue makan siang is first again. It's not really that hard, the question, isn't it? Okay, I think we have the winner, Blue makan siang. Congratulations, you are winning this game. And we can see Blue makan siang got 8,100 coins, and the lowest score is Icha. What are you doing, Icha? Come on. And also FK is still doing the quiz. Okay, congratulations to Blue Makan Siang. And now I'm going to give the place to Anindya Restufiani as the moderator. Hi, Fifi.
Hi, Nofal. Thank you so much for hosting the game. It was amazing. I didn't manage to join because I was trying my best to put the questions in order, but I see that Belum Makan Siang is winning. So I hope after you win, you will eat lunch. Belum Makan Siang, it literally means that I haven't eaten lunch. Uh, so that's Bahasa Indonesia. So thank you so much, Nova, for hosting the game. And thank you so much, John, for opening the session very, very well. So welcome, everyone. My name is Anindya Rastubiani, and you can call me Vivi. I am the program director of Jakarta Feminist Association. And today I will be your moderator for this session. So today we are commemorating World Contraceptive Day to 2020, and it is definitely a strange time for us to commemorating this. Usually we probably in a conference or we're gonna do this offline. We're gonna see each other and meet each other, but since we are still in a global pandemic, so this is the best thing that we can do, and I hope that it will not reduce our spirit to keep promoting safe sex all over the world, obviously, and also contraceptive itself. So as we all know that there are so many things changed during this time, not just the way we work, but also the way that we socialize with other human beings are also changed. So this includes the way we explore our relationship, pleasures, as well as intimacy. So how do we see sex in time of corona? Now we have four amazing speakers that join us here today that will share not just their expertise, but also their experience in maintaining safe sex, pleasure, intimacy, and also relationship in time of corona. So without further ado, I would like to welcome them one by one. So first, I do want to welcome my friend, a fellow Indonesian, Mr. Brian Roosevelt. Hi, Brian. Brian is a medical student and a sexual reproductive health and rights youth champion based in Jakarta, Indonesia. Brian is right now currently the Find My Method country consultant. So, Brian, can you hear me?
Yep, I can. Thank you,
Yeah. So,
Fifi.
can you please describe to us how are you feeling today in one sexy word?
Well, today has been quite hard.
I love that. Oh wow. Usually when we mention hard, I hope that it's not a bad thing. But yeah, thank you so much, Brian, for being here today. So, second of all, we also have Nick Maravillas. Hi, Nick. How are you?
Hi, Vivi.
Um, Hi, so Nick is a reproductive health, LGBTIQ rights, and mental health advocate based in Manila, the Philippines. Nick founded Tarangban Albay that focuses on humanitarian issues. She currently works as program associate at the Forum for Family Planning and Development. Same question to you, Nick. Do you have any sexy word that describe how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling tempting.
I love that. That is so sexy, Nick.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you can join us here today. And looking forward to talk to you, Nick. So we also have Catherine Harry, who is a Cambodian feminist vlogger and was named Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia 2018 for her work on raising awareness on feminism and empower women in Cambodia. Amazing. So I bet Kath now has a sexy word that describes how she's feeling today. Hi, Kath.
Hi, Vivi. Yes, I definitely have a word, and I am feeling insatiable right now.
Oh, wow. Amazing. I love that. Thank you so much, Kat, for joining us. And I see that you are on the beach right now, which is definitely make all of us feel super jealous. That was amazing, by the way. So thank
Well,
you
it's
so much.
pretty nice.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us from your busy time at the beach.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, thank you. So I'm looking forward to talk to you too as well. But last but not least, we have Dr. Yaranar, who is a medical doctor and public health expert based in Yangon, Myanmar. And she currently works as a program analyst on adolescent and youth at UNFPA in Myanmar. Hi, Yadanar. So do you have a sexy word that describe your feeling today?
I'm really in the mood.
You're really in the mood. Yes. We
Let's
love to
start.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love to see enthusiastic consent when it comes to, describing how you're feeling and you're about to do something, right? So thank you so much, Yadana, for being in the mood. So without further ado, let's start this talk show, and I don't want to talk more about anything else. I just want to throw you all a question. So currently I am single. So, and as a single woman, usually sometimes I do casual sex, but in times of corona during this pandemic, it definitely made me very anxious to do a casual sex, right? So I decided that my best sex partner in time of corona is myself. So to all of you, I'm just wondering, is there any of you are also having the same anxiety as I am right now, or any of you are in a relationship? And if you are in a relationship, how did you keep your relationship strong during pandemic? Which is also in a sense that how do you actually connect sexually and intimacy when we know that in each of our country we definitely have lockdown, also social distancing itself. So I don't know who wants to start first. You can raise your hand or just open your mic. Maybe Kath want to share first?
Yes, I was just gonna turn on my mic actually.
Yeah.
So just like you, Phoebe, I'm also self-partnered. I'm stealing Emma Watson's word right now. So for me, I feel like the pandemic would be the perfect time for me to actually discover myself, to discover what I like sexually, and to empower myself rather than going out to find a partner. Because you're right, I do feel anxious about that, because on top of the things that we need to worry about, such as STDs, unplanned pregnancy, and all of that, we need to worry about getting COVID-19. Even though in Cambodia the situation is not too bad, but the anxiety, the fear is still there. So for me personally, right now, it's like a detox, taking time to build a relationship with myself, sexually, emotionally, and in every other way.
Thank you so much, Kath. I feel you. So Nick, do you have any thoughts to that, or do you have different experience?
I have a very different experience because I am actually in a relationship and we live together. So there's not much of anxiety, but of course you gotta make it more exciting. You gotta make it, especially you make it more safe because despite of like being able to be together, still one of us needs to go out. So you have to make sure that you've already like sanitize yourself or take a bath, those kinds of things, because we have to be very careful because right now Philippines has been like almost 7 months in quarantine, and it's a very difficult situation because when you live together, of course you have to make it more exciting because it's difficult. It's difficult in a sense that you live together for so long that sometimes you're too tired to do it, or sometimes yeah, right. Sometimes you get tired too, and sometimes you don't do it like for a whole week or stuff like that. But still, mine is very exciting and fun and warm and always tempting.
I love that. That's why you choose. I think you were the one who chose the word tempting, right? Was it?
Yeah.
Was it you? Yeah. Okay. That's now I know why you choose that word. Yes, but I think I totally agree the way that you describe that. You always have to make it that you always tempted to do it, right? Make it interesting, right? So how about you, Yadanar? Do you have same experience with Kath or with Nick, or you have a totally different experience?
My situation is quite similar to Nick, and like during the pandemic, there are so many memes around. Like, some of the couples feel like they are trapped, and then there are like so many problems. But the situation is quite different. It's like it is a really good opportunity for me and my boyfriend. So we live together, and the the strengthening part is that we keep the communication channel very open. So most of the day we talk about, what I have to do, what I'm stressed about, what he has to do, what he's stressed about. And another thing is like trying to do things, some of the things together and some of the things like separately. For example, like we did this online course on COVID-19 to explore, like, what are the things that we are facing, what the world is facing. And some of the times we give each other a space. Like I do some of the things that I like, going to a new hobby like painting or drawing, and then he go into his like nerdy, like creating the charts and working with the excels, things like that. But yeah, it is really a good, pandemic in another way help us, or put a highlight on like what Kat said, discovering ourselves, discovering our body, discovering our pleasure. And masturbation is now, quite a popular word when it comes to pandemic. Like you said, like currently your safest sexual partner is actually yourself. So it's also give us an opportunity to explore more about our body, talk more about, exploring the body and the masturbation also. Yeah, which is kind of a taboo subject, difficult to talk previously. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that perspective. I think it's important that we still have alone time somehow. Just also, which is I think kind of like resounding what Nick said. Sometimes alone time make it interesting. So I totally agree with that. And yes, with the sexual pleasure itself, the exploring pleasures, the what Kath already resonated as well. I totally agree with that. Last but not least, Brian, do you want to share your experience about finding pleasure during COVID-19?
Oh, well, I myself am a bit similar to Nick and Yadanar, I guess. I live with my partner, my polyamorous partner. Uh, I guess a little bit different is the experience where, because we've been spending so much more time together since now in Jakarta, especially, there's quarantine, so it's working from home usually. So we spend a lot more time together. We learn a lot more stuff together about each other, especially. Yeah. Since we're also polyamorous, we're actually open to others, and although because of this quarantine, it's actually almost pretty much impossible to meet others. So it's more like chatting with new people online and not much meeting.
All right, cool. Thank you. Yeah, chatting with people. I do still go on like dating app just to chat with people because I am naturally an extrovert. So it is definitely a hard time for me to be in a quarantine. But thank God for dating app. But anyway, talking about dating app, this is definitely somehow related to my next question, which is that currently during the pandemic, the study shows that there are rising numbers of telephone and online sex, which is sometimes that's what people do on dating app, right? I do flirt online sometimes. And somehow it also put us at risk for online gender-based violence, right? There's also in Indonesia, maybe Brian later can add that there's actually a rising number of online gender-based violence in Indonesia. So I do want to ask you, Danar and Nick, how do you think about online sex and what is your best advice to keep us safe?
All right, for my advice for like a lot of young people, because like I met my partner online on a dating app. So of course we once used that kind of sexual experience. But like for some people, you have to really be careful who you meet. You have to be careful what you share because not everyone will actually keep your secret. Some people, like for example, here in the Philippines, there are already a lot of cases where people actually share nudes of their previous partners or the people they met online. So don't easily trust people about this, and you have to make it exciting, sexual or like in our case, since our internet is not that good, so we use text sometimes. So when you text, you make it exciting, you make it like very engaging, you make it more interesting, you make it like you don't make it sound that you're the only one who wants to do it. You have to make sure that it's a shared pleasure. You have to make sure that both of you are working together to make it work, especially right now you can't really meet people and have sex, and you can't really be with them physically. So it's very important that you communicate very well. And again, please be careful who you trust.
Yadanar, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I would like to second Nick points. Like you have to be very careful with who you're chatting, and and it's important that the other person understand, you're right, and also the concept of like consent. It's very important, and also use the secure platform, like for example, like Snapchat. When the other person took a screenshot or save your photo, you get the notification, things like that. So and there's some tips, like when you are really in a mood and you want to engage in like photographic or videographic calls, sexy talk, sexting, make sure that your identifiable body parts uh, are not really in the scene. um, but if you two are like really trusted partner, it's fine. But if you're doing like casual, testing, it's important that you use a secure platform and make sure that the very like some landmark on your body are not really in the video. And also, it's important to know that if something happened, for example, like the other person broke your trust and then did some nasty thing, remember that it's not your fault, because it is not you who violate the right. It is that person. And we all have to raise the awareness that when these things happen, we usually turn to the victim blaming, but no, who did the wrong thing is the person who broke the promise and violate the other person's rights. So this is also an important point, that if you are in a either casual or the long-term commitment relationship, it's important to you are responsible for each other's rights, and you have to maintain the trust. And if something happened, it's never the victim fault. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yadanar. I think that is amazing to remind everyone, if anything happens to you and if somebody's violating your rights, that is not your fault. It is that people who violates your rights that is definitely their fault. You have nothing to do with it. So I think that is a very good message. So before I'm going to the next question, I do want to remind the audience that is watching us on our YouTube, Twitter, and also Facebook platform that this is actually an interactive session. So you can leave a message, a questions on your comment box, and we will definitely, and please let us know to which speakers do you want to address these questions to. So and the host will definitely give it to me, and I will be able to tell to ask our speakers here in the session. So going on to the next question. So I do want to ask Brian and Kath, how do you define safe sex now? And do you actually think that safe sex, the definitions of safe sex in the future will look different than it is right now, especially after the pandemic?
Um, Personally, I always thought of safe sex as something that, well, basically ensures your safety, with that you are fully informed and you know what you want, and you take the steps needed to avoid any unwanted things. That was the conventional, and I never personally thought much about the digital, but because of this pandemic and again distance, so lots of chatting with people online. And I think in the future, well, actually now, starting now, but also going forward, your digital safety is especially important. Yadanar already mentioned about not leaving anything identifiable unless you fully trust them, and if you, and still that trust can be broken. And so it's very important to also know that, again, I will repeat, that it's not your fault. And if you need help, you can always seek that, like in Indonesia. So we have uh, I forgot what's the English word. I think Legal Aid Institute, or LBH Apik, or SafeNet is in Indonesia. Perhaps in other countries they have their own support systems for this kind of digital insecurity. I'm not sure how to v- voice out these issues in English. I'm sorry, but yeah.
All right, thank you. Yes, I do wanna second what Brian has said. Yes, if you are in Indonesia and you do have a concern about digital violence, you can call SafeNet, and maybe other countries in Myanmar, Cambodia, and Philippines. You can also share with us what are the contact platform that they can contact if they are in violent situations. So to Kath, I do have a same question. Like I asked Brian, how do you define safe sex now? And do you think it will, like, the definition will expand?
I definitely agree with what Brian said about how safe sex is free of consequences that you wouldn't want otherwise. Like the basic ones would be about STDs, unintended pregnancy. But now, because we've been talking about this for a while about digital and how we are moving towards using digital platform as a way to engage in sexual activities like dating apps, like all of those things. I think one of the things that people are starting to do is, aside from sexting, is also videos. They have sex toys that actually synchronize with the videos. I'm not sure if you've seen those, but the sex toys operate like a synchronized, distant, mutual sex toys with the other person. So things like that are using digital space. So now I think the emphasis on safe sex should be on digital safety as well. And victim blaming is definitely one important issue of that, because there are so many revenge porn online. There are so many cases of people leaking the victims' images or videos or things like that. And I think it's not just about I think it's about us as internet users. We need to come together to combat all of those things, to try to not blame the victims. And I think one very uplifting example, sort of uplifting example that I saw was a few weeks ago, a few days ago, when Chris Evans actually accidentally leaked his nude online on Instagram, and the entire internet just came together saying that we should respect his privacy. We shouldn't go out and seek these images. We should just forget that it actually happened, because it is his private photo. So I think we should start doing that with basically revenge porn, images, unsolicited images, or unconsensual images of victims online. We should just know that it's people's private images, photos, footage, and we should just start come together to make the internet a safer space for everyone.
Thank you, Kath. I totally agree with Brian and Kath as well. The way that the word is shifting through a lot of online space right now. I think definitely safe, when we are talking about safe sex, we will definitely talk about online space as well. So I do want to start moving our discussions towards another issue that is definitely very closely related to sex and pleasures and intimacy and relationship as well, which is contraceptions. So I do want to ask to all of you. I wanted to know, what are the policy in your country related to contraceptive access? I do want to start with Brian. Maybe can you explain a little bit about the policy that is existing in Indonesia on contraceptive access, and how is it actually changed right now during the pandemic?
Okay, so when it comes to policy in Indonesia, it's actually contradicting. So in the law, the first article actually mentions about how it is the right of everyone to choose the contraceptive. But then in the next article, it mentions about how the choice falls on legally married husband and wife. So it's quite fixated on just providing contraceptives to the married, which leaves out a whole host of other groups, from young people who are unmarried, from queer people, basically the non-married, really. And so, in practice, though, you can still access contraceptives. It's just due to some ambiguity in the law and also personal values of some uh, providers. It's quite challenging to find a provider who actually does not judge you, especially if you're unmarried. During this pandemic, sadly, obviously, some health and safety protocols are in place. Policy wise, not much, but practice is the most evident in change. In Jakarta, for example, the Planned Parenthood clinic now only they usually serve every weekday at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but now they only serve the physical service, like providing the contraceptive itself, every Thursday and Friday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that's like a big limitation, right, on the services provided, which is although understandable, but it also makes it quite hard to access it. Yeah, that's what I can add.
Thank you. So Kath, do you have any thing to share about the access that is in Cambodia?
We are quite fortunate in Cambodia that we have free access to contraception. So anyone of any age can go get contraceptive method. At Maristopes, we actually provide services, all forms of contraceptive services to women from every age. The only exception is tubal ligation, which we have certain criteria, like she would have to be married, she would have to have certain number of children. But other than that, we also encourage young women, young girls to get long-term family planning like IUD or implant because it works better for them long-term anyway. And I think that's the policy. That's how we're actually trying to do it. But one of the barriers that we are facing is actually misconception and culture. So same thing with the whole unmarried women going to the clinic. They can go to the clinic. They can go get contraceptive method, but in some clinics, in some places, the providers would be judgmental, would have their own preconceived notions of why the women are there. Premarital sex is frowned upon in Cambodia, and because of that, it limits women's access to getting those contraceptive methods. But in theory, it's pretty open. We're quite fortunate that way.
That is amazing. Thank you so much, Kath. How about Nick? Is Do you have like different experience or similar experience to Brian and Kath?
Actually, it's the same experience with cat, but what we have is a law. So last 2012, after like a 10 years battle, we were able to pass the RH law, or the reproductive health law, which actually requires the Department of Health to provide free contraceptives to poor and marginalized families, and also to adolescents. So this is a very big win because here in the Philippines, sex is still a taboo conversation. Even talking about masturbation, even getting a condom in a store, it's still a taboo. But what's good about it now is that there are lots of non-government organizations and government organizations who made sure that are actually pushing for comprehensive sexual education. Recently, the Department of Education are actually starting to implement CSE in the school. So it's a very important matter because uh, since we are now moving forward, we are now starting to talk about sex. We are now starting to talk about educating people, especially the young people, because right now the teenage pregnancy has rise, and there are lots of problems here in the Philippines that's related to pregnancy and violence. So now that we have these kinds of things that protects us, it helps a lot of young people to have a safe space. Right now, we also have different health facilities that are actually youth friendly. I visited a certain health center in Palawan, wherein their health services are only for the youth, so that the youth will actually be comfortable in talking about sex and pleasure and even family planning. I think that's a great win for the Philippines. But of course, there's lots of things to do when it comes to these things.
Thank you, Nick. Lastly, Yadanar, do you have any things that you want to share about the access and policy in Myanmar?
Mhm. It's quite similar to Cambodia, Kath. It's pretty accessible. So for even for things like emergency contraceptive pills, you don't really need the prescription. You can go at the supermarket, you can go to the pharmacy over counter and buy. But the access is different, of course. There's this discrepancy between the rural and urban areas for sure. And but the problem is the problem or the barrier to access is like Kat also mentioned, the societal, the community judgmental attitude, and stigma and discrimination, especially for the unmarried population. So if you go to a pharmacy and you say like, I want to buy a condom, I want to buy the emergency contraception, you can get it, but you will be asked a lot of questions like, why do you need it, are you married, things like that. And the same with the female sterilization also. uh, it's still a little bit restrictive in a sense that there's certain set of criteria that you need to meet, and then you have to submit the form to the board and the board has to approve, things like that. And another barrier is the lack or the weak uh, access to the information. For example, like till now, um, people assume or people encourage that learning about the sex, learning about the contraceptive method, it's something you should know only when you get married. So in school, they don't really encourage the young people or the education system to include this kind of evidence-based information in the school curriculum. But now the good thing is that Myanmar is in the transition period, and we have revised the current curriculum. And the good news is that life skills, which also contain a component of the comprehensive sexuality education, is now the core curriculum, which means that it's a must to teach in school. But we are trying our best to align the content with the national context as well as with the international standard. But with the COVID-19, pandemic, there's limit to access because you cannot really go out as much as you like to have access to the contraceptive. So let's say if you are on pills, now you need to have a plan. Now you need to have a stock of pills to for you for a certain months. You cannot really like go out as much as you want. And also if you are on the long-term methods, and if you, let's say like your long-term method is about to expire, and with the limited access to the health services, because now the private clinics, some of them shut down already, some of the pharmacies shut down already, so you need to have like a backup method. And if you have the injection, you need to have like an appointment, an advance appointment with the doctor. So these are the additional burden for the existing barriers that the women are facing in sex and the contraception. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that explanation. But Nick, you mentioned a little bit about there's like a high risk of adolescent pregnancy and stuff like that. And I felt like in a general situation, I think there's a higher risk of adolescent pregnancy all over Southeast Asia, especially when there's no contraceptive available and easily accessible for a lot of people. So I'm just wondering, do you mind like explaining us a little bit more about why is it actually important for us to provide contraceptions or family planning, both service and information, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, actually, it's very important because, like, here in a country, if you go into the city, most of the young people are very well educated about things. But when it comes to sex, because like families don't really talk about it, they tend to like believe in myths. Like for example, there's a belief that condom is not good, that when you use it doesn't feel right. But that's not the truth. And another one is some young people actually believe that if they do it once, they won't get pregnant. They have this kind of belief. So imagine if like people or young people like them would believe these kinds of things. They will really resort to teenage pregnancy because they lack education. They lack knowledge about sex. Because like right now, a lot of we are actually very religious in a way that sometimes when you talk about sex, or when you start to make a conversation in your family about sex, you will be tagged as promiscuous. Imagine that. You don't have a safe space. You don't even know. I remember when I was younger, I don't even know how to clean up myself. I don't even know how to have sex. Like, like I got this idea when I met people, but not when I was young, not when I was in high school. Like how I wish I knew it when I was younger. But right now, Philippines is now having this problem of teenage pregnancy because of right now, because of the commodities. Contraceptives are kind of hard to get because like what I said, we are already in an almost 7 month quarantine. It's hard to go outside. You can't buy contraceptives. Even if you go outside, like a lot of people don't have jobs, so they would resort it to like just doing it, and they have a lot of time. Some people, like not everyone is uh have this leisure time to actually study. Not everyone has the leisure time to do things that we do. But because of that, they tend to have sex instead. That's why this is happening. That's why we need to continue to educate people, especially young people. Actually, just to share with you all, teachers are also having a hard time teaching comprehensive sexuality education because, like for example, when they try to say penis, it's like a bad word. When they say vagina, it's also like a bad word. So instead of like using vagina, sometimes some people actually use other terms like shells, because shells looks like vagina, or sometimes like penis. Penis is like look like a banana or look like an eggplant. That's how they refer it. So it's very important that we try to educate them that it's okay to use penis or vagina or boobs, because that's normal. It's part of our body, and we have to embrace that. And once we know how to use our body and how we let others know, by letting others know about consent and letting others know about proper sex, then I guess we can actually prevent this kind of problems in the future, and even violence. That's all.
Thank you, Nick. I do want to ask Kath because, as we all know, that you are a feminist blogger who focusing on, one of the main issue of feminism itself is definitely we're talking about sex. We try to normalize this kind of conversation, right? So why do you think it is important for us to have this kind of conversation, especially the access to the informations of the contraception itself? And also, what can we do to make sure that people actually have this able to access information on, and also services of contraceptions and family planning as well?
I believe that it's very important that we start to normalize conversation about sex, because now sex is a taboo in many places. If you talk about it, yeah, considered to be promiscuous, or you are considered to be experienced, or people would slut shame you. As someone who is actually talking about sex all the time online, I get slut shamed all the time. But because we don't talk about that, we can see that young people don't understand their bodies, they don't understand safe sex, they don't understand consent, because we don't have these conversation in a normal, in a safe environment in our daily lives. It's something that kids don't know, that it's something that people don't talk about. So some people have come up to me and say that if you talk about sex, if you talk about sex to young people, then you're encouraging them to have sex, which is not true. Studies have shown that that is not true at all. Kids will have sex when they want to, and we cannot stop them. Even if we try to stop them, they will not stop. So the important thing is that we actually inform them, we give them information, so that when they do decide to have sex, they do it with information in hand. They can actually make informed decisions, rather than allowing young people and kids to have access to pornography. And pornography can be very problematic, because not only does it not represent what real life is, but it also brushes over important topics such as consent, such as sexual violence. So it's better to actually start the conversation early, to start talking to young kids, young people about consent, about sexual reproductive health, about their bodies. I know in some countries they have been very successful at doing it, such as in the Netherlands. So they start teaching comprehensive sex education to kids from a very young age, from like 5, 6 years old, starting about consent when your uncle wants to hug you, when your family member, and starting from the bottom up. But imagine that if we can actually start talking about all of these things openly, then we live in a more acceptable society, and women can actually talk about even normal things like menstruation. Because in Cambodia, I have met many young women saying that when they first had their period, they thought they were dying because they didn't know why they were suddenly bleeding. If their parents had actually talked to them openly about menstruation, saying that if you reach a certain age, you will start to menstruate and that's okay, you don't need to panic, you're not gonna die, it will save them a lot of anxiety, a lot of worries, and they will understand their bodies better and also embrace their bodies better, become more, basically become more acquainted with their sexuality in the future. And I think that's very important. That's why we need to start normalizing these conversations. And normalizing these conversations would also include contraception as well. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kath. We have question from our social media platform. So I'm just going to start to incorporate these questions to my questions list. So one of the questions that come from our audience is that someone asked, what is the best contraceptive method that should we use during COVID-19? So maybe I do want to ask this to Yaranar. Do you have answers to this?
I would say that, like the method that it's okay for you, that you can accessible and you can choose is the best method for you because all the contraceptive methods, assuming that you know what the percentages that work and you like long term or short term, so there's not no single answer like this is the best method you must use during the pandemic. It's like the method that you like, the method you are available to you, the method you of your choice is the best for you during the pandemic. Yeah.
Thank you, Yaranar. Is there anybody else who wants to add to what Yaranar just said? Nick?
Alright, I'm speaking in behalf of the peers because like clear sex and clear relationships are like not often talked about. So like for those women who like women, I'd like to say that if you like to engage like or to use sex toys, you still have to use condoms and lube. I remember when I was younger, I really don't know that there's such thing as sex toys and that I have to use condom and lubes. But it's very important because that's also to avoid any infections or it's too easy, to be more pleasurable to both of you. It's very important, and also it's also important that you use whatever you're comfortable with because not everyone's comfortable with sex toys. Some like use their bodies when it comes to sex and pleasure. So it's really up to you on what you enjoy most, and most importantly, you communicate with your partner what you enjoy most, and vice versa.
Thank you, Nick. Kath and Brian, do you want to add to that question?
I will just add a little bit from personal experience because I do believe that people have different preferences and contraceptive methods have different fitting for everyone. But personally, for me, I would vouch for implant. I have been using implant for 7 years now, and I think it's very convenient. It's cheap. And you don't have to worry about it. It's like you just go to the provider once and then you can just come back in 3 to 5 years. So I would vouch for implant, and I don't get my period, which saves me a lot of money and a lot of problems.
Yeah, that's the dream, right? Not getting period. All right, Brian, do you have anything to add?
Personally, not much. I agree with yeah, Danar, especially what matters is that you are fully informed and you know what you want. As long as you can access it, go for it.
Thank you. So there's one more question from our audience. Someone asked that my partner and I get bored sometimes because we've been together for a while. How can I make my relationship fun again without going out of home? All right, maybe who wants to start first? Maybe Nick or Yaranar or Brian or Kath?
All right, so just to make it exciting, you have to make sure that first you have to ask yourself, uh, make sure the thing that you're gonna use makes you both comfortable. Like for me, I make sure to make it more exciting. I use things, variety of things. For example, it's either we use sex toys or you just like you start with cuddling or you start with like and different things like you can dance if you want. It depends on your fantasies on how you want to make it or how you want it to be because it's very important that you're comfortable. That because it won't make things sexy if you're not like into it. All right, so you need to really talk about things when to on to what extent or to what kind of sexual things you enjoy most with your partner.
Thank you, Nick. Yaranar, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, similar to Nick, it's like try new things, try interesting new things, but yeah, communicate first before you try. For example, like yesterday, I was doing some researches about, safe sex during pandemic. What's the new normal safe sex look like? So, adding to previous conversation about like it's not having the, like STI, HIV from your partner, not having the online harassment abuses from the other person. It also at like how can we protect COVID-19 during the sex? And then some of the suggestions are like you cannot kiss your partner. I'm like, oh my god, how can I really stay away from my partner having sex but no kiss? And then yeah, mask, putting on a mask, and then try different positions. So last night was quite interesting. Like we had this conversation. Maybe it would be fun if we try with a mask on and then see how it goes. Or they said that avoid the face-to-face contact. So maybe we should try this position in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because we both play Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu called the North South, which is basically 69. Then we avoid the contact face to face. That's another interesting thing that we would be like, okay, tonight we're gonna have the COVID safe sex, things like that. And another thing, which I'm not sure whether we will try. It's very difficult for us to try, but it's in the suggestion is to have a wall with a hole, no body contact, glory hole. I don't think we can create a glory hole at home, but yeah, interesting. You communicate like these are the things that we want to try, consent, and then try new things. I think this will actually help you like add a little bit more spices in the relationship. Yeah.
Me a lot of ideas, which is great. Thank you so much. Kath and Brian, do you have anything to add? Kath and Brian, do you have anything to add to that or?
Extensive, but I'll just
Yeah.
add a few options that that people can play around with. I would say bring food. We have a lot of variety of food, cream, chocolate, anything that you and your partner would want to experiment with. Toys, definitely. I mean, we know that BDSM has been put into the spotlight, the mainstream now, thanks to 50 Shades. So maybe try to fantasy role playing. So I think there are so many options out there that you can explore. But yes, definitely your partner before sticking anything up anywhere. But I think, yeah, many options.
Thank you, Brian. Do we lost him?
Hello?
Yep. Okay, there you go.
Sorry. So you could, I guess, gamify it, like make a list consent to, and then you just roll the dice and do whatever comes up.
All right, it's like a
Yeah.
game with
That if
dice.
you live together,
That,
because I,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you so much. I have a lot of ideas in my mind right now. It's amazing. I love this conversation. But so, last question from me actually before we wrap this discussion. Unfortunately, we have a very limited time. This is for all of you. Do you have any advice on finding and harmony, especially now that there's more free time, but with restriction? I do want to ask Kat first.
So I think this conversation is going back in full circle. So because for me, finding sexual pleasure for now is within myself. So I think it's about spending time doing the things that I like while also taking care of my sexual health, making sure I get all the checkups, making sure that everything is up to date, and also uh, experimenting new things with myself in my sexual self-discovery journey. So yeah, I think it's pretty simple with me because I don't have a partner.
Thank you, Kath. How about you, Nick?
All right, for me, yeah, just like what Kat said, it's really important to like rediscover yourself in this times because when you do it like most of the time, it's really tiring and sometimes it takes a toll in your mental health. So take care of yourself, take time to do what you really want, do a lot of things. Uh, uh, think about your new hobbies or whatever you can do, and then make sure that like make it fun for yourself. Make it something that won't pressure you or won't add pressure to everything that's already happening. Make sure that you enjoy yourself, you enjoy your partner, you enjoy everything that you have right now, and most especially, I hope like for those who are DC, I want you to know that you know you can do things, you can experiment, you can be happy, you can actually do like can masturbate like watching each other masturbate and date and start having conversations because conversations makes like you know it makes you wonder about things, it makes you start communicating your needs, you start communicating what you want, and you start uh rediscover yourself. That's it.
Thank you, Nick. How about you, Brian? Do you have any advice for us?
Um, what I can think of is perhaps that you don't have to go all out. You can tease, you can play around, you can, I don't know if this is a name, but half masturbate, if I were to call it. Like you don't have to go all the way to orgasm. It's just playing around, whether it be with yourself or with your partner. Just enjoy your time. We're in quarantine, we're stuck at home.
Thank you. And last but not least, Yadanar, do you have any advice for us on finding sexual balance during COVID-19?
Yeah, because it's very important, right? And usually when we think before we actually work from home, is that work from home would be amazing. But what I found out is that you work from home means you work since you open your eyes and since you close your eyes. That's it. So it's really important to have the self reflection whether you are very stressed, whether you are actually giving yourself a time, and yeah, and make sure to set a time for yourself and also set a time to enjoy the relationship, to strengthen the relationship. So usually, I would limit most of the weekdays, mostly like even after work office hour, I would still be working, but like set aside time during the dinner. Dinner is for movie, so we will have dinner together. We will have a particular series that we both want to watch, and we spend time like that. And also the important thing is not to put a lot of pressure on yourself because we have a lot of pressure on ourselves already during the COVID-19. So quite similar to what my amazing feminist friends said. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And that was the end of our discussions. And I do love this discussion. is hard and hot and tempting, and all of the sexy words jumble into one. It's amazing. So thank you so much for giving us a lot of insights about how it is to for us to be able to find pleasure, and also how do we maintain relationship during the COVID-19. If I may sum it up, I do want to sum it up to several points. So the first one, we know that we discussed that safe sex is definitely about respecting each other's rights, especially during the pandemic. That we know that as during the pandemic as progress, we can see that safe sex is expanding to online safety as well, and this is something that we discussed before in these discussions. And second, it is what I do want to like second to everyone has been discussing about during the session, that maintaining communication is actually key to maintain relationship, including discussion what are things that you're consented to, especially during intercourses. And on contraception, based on this discussion, we know that despite some laws in some country that actually not very restricting people to accessing contraceptions, however, we all facing similar situation where misconception and culture are still became the main barrier to access contraceptions in Southeast Asia, if I may. And lastly, sorry, not lastly yet, but fourth is that we need to start normalize discussion about sexual and reproductive health and also the rights, because there are so many misconceptions that we mentioned before, that this is why we need to discuss sexual and also reproductive health and rights. And lastly, I just want to second what Yadona mentioned last time, which is that we don't have to put a lot of pressures on ourselves, because this is definitely not a quote unquote normal situation. We all have in a sense that we all been through a hard situation. So don't put take it easy on yourself. You don't have to put a lot of pressures on yourselves. So once again, thank you so much everyone for joining us in this discussion. And I do want to thank Find My Method for facilitating this discussions. And I want to give it back to Nofal to close this event. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you, Fifi. Oh my God. Wow. Thank you so much for the amazing and fun conversation. I learned so much from this about sexuality, about pleasure, contraception in time of pandemic, especially. It's very amazing. Thank you so much for the speakers and moderators for sharing your insight, your knowledge, and experience. You all are very, very cool. And right now, I want to share something from Find My Method. So this is a very good initiative from Find My Method, and let me present first. So if you have any devices in front of you right now, your laptop, your phone, your tablet, you can once again open your browser and go to the findmymethod.org. It's our website. And if you are already inside, and I am waiting for you to be inside the website, you can see the main page, and on the right side you can see also the link to the forum. And this is the very good initiative for us to have a conversation like this, but in the forum on the internet, in the Find My Method website. So inside the forum, you can sign up, you can register yourself, and if you already have an account for this, you can log in, and you can see in here there is a specific group for each countries. This is very amazing, and also you can learn a lot about other countries in here, and also in general world. So let's register there, and let's talk more about sexuality, about contraception, and also about pleasure, and especially in the time of pandemic like right now. So thank you so much for participating. We hope this is not the last, but the first of many conversation. Stay safe, stay sane, know your risk, and use your mask. It's a sign of respect. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Woohoo!